All right, today we're going to dive into something that affects every single one of us every single day. We're going to uncover how one of our simplest habits is actually one of the most powerful tools for public health on the entire planet. No exaggeration.
So let me just start with a big question. What if I told you that you, yes, you, have the power to save millions of lives? And I'm not talking about some miracle drug or complex new technology. I'm talking about something you do multiple times a day, probably without even thinking about it. It sounds almost too simple to be true, right? Well, that's exactly what this is all about.
To really get why this habit is so powerful, we first have to meet the bad guy in our story, an invisible enemy that lives all around us, and especially on our hands. Even when your hands look perfectly clean, they are often anything but. Think of your hands like a high-traffic hub for all sorts of microscopic organisms. We're talking bacteria, viruses, parasites, the whole gang. And these aren't just harmless passengers hitching a ride. Nope, they're the actual culprits behind some really serious, sometimes deadly diseases, things like cholera, severe diarrhea, and as we all learned not too long ago, COVID-19. So how do these tiny germs get around? Well, they travel along something called the chain of infection. And what's the number one vehicle they use for that journey? You guessed it, our hands. It all happens in a simple, everyday way we can all picture. It's really just a simple four-step journey. So picture this. Someone coughs into their hand. Then they grab a door handle. A little later, you come along and touch that same handle. And then, without even thinking about it, you touch your face or grab a snack. And just like that, bam, the transfer is complete. The chain of infection is still going strong. But here is the really good news. We have a hero in this story. There is a simple and incredibly effective way for us to be the superheroes who break that chain of infection. And that solution is, you know it, soap and water. And look, don't just take my word for it. Let's look at the actual data. The World Health Organization says that proper hand washing can slash diarrheal diseases by up to 40%. 40%. That is a massive impact from what seems like such a small action. It's a statistic that really just underscores the power we're talking about. So, what does a number like that actually mean in human terms? Well, that 40% reduction isn't just a statistic. It translates into saving the lives of the most vulnerable people out there, especially children. We're talking about millions of lives that could be protected every single year if we all just got a little better at this one simple thing. Now, this brings us to a really key point. It's not just that we wash our hands, it's all about how we do it. The truth is, a lot of us are doing it wrong. We rush it, we skip steps, but doing it the right way, that's what unlocks that life-saving potential. Timing is also everything. We have to be strategic about when we wash our hands. Think about the high-stakes moments. Before you eat or prepare food, right after you use the restroom or sneeze, and after you've been petting animals. These are the crucial points where we can most effectively snap that chain of infection. Okay, so let's break down the actual technique. It's just 5 simple steps: wet, lather, scrub, rinse, and dry. The step most people mess up? The scrub. You've got to hit all the surfaces, the backs of your hands, between your fingers, get under your nails, and you have to do it for at least 20 seconds. A great little trick is to just hum happy birthday to yourself all the way through, twice. You might be wondering, is the soap really that necessary? And the answer is a huge, definitive yes. Water alone just kind of rinses some of the germs off the surface. But soap is the real weapon here. Its molecules actually trap the dirt and grease where germs love to hide, and they can even tear apart the outer layer of many viruses and bacteria. So yeah, using soap is the difference between a light rinse and a true deep clean. So let's zoom out for a second, because this is about so much more than just personal hygiene. When you wash your hands the right way, the effect just ripples outward. You're not just protecting yourself, you're actively protecting your entire community. This one simple act makes a gigantic difference all across our society. In hospitals, it's a fundamental part of patient safety. It saves lives. In schools, it keeps kids healthy and actually in the classroom. And at home, it protects the people you love the most. And during an outbreak, it becomes our collective first line of defense. So let's end with this thought. The next time you're standing at a sink, just remember what's really going on. This isn't just a chore. It is a powerful act of protection. You're a guardian of your own health, you're a protector of your family,
and you're a vital part of keeping your entire community safe and well, all with just a little bit of soap and water.